Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a serene forest. The trees whisper in the wind, and the sunlight dances through the leaves. Yet, despite the beauty surrounding you, your mind feels heavy, tangled in the chaos of life. Sound familiar? Welcome to today's journey, where we explore the sacred art of letting go, a path to discovering true freedom and peace within ourselves. Life often feels like a constant pursuit, more possessions, more achievements, more validation. Yet, Zen philosophy teaches us that peace is not found in accumulation, but in the profound act of release. As the Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. And isn't that true for many of the burdens we carry? Anger, regret, fear, and the need for control? These invisible weights cloud our clarity, rob us of joy, and prevent us from living fully in the present. In this podcast, we'll take a deep dive into 10 things you can quietly eliminate from your life to create space for peace, wisdom, and true happiness. Each step is a gentle reminder that letting go is not about losing but about gaining the clarity and freedom to truly see life as it is. We'll begin this exploration with a powerful insight. Letting go is not a one-time event but a sacred practice, a dance with life itself. Together, we will uncover the timeless lessons from Buddhist teachings, hear stories of transformation, and embrace practical steps to release the unnecessary from our lives. So, whether you're sipping your morning tea, driving to work, or simply seeking a moment of stillness in your day, this is your invitation to pause, breathe, and reflect. You don't need to fix everything at once. All you need is an open heart and a willingness to take the first step. Now, let's begin this transformative journey together. Take a deep breath and imagine yourself stepping into a peaceful garden, ready to nurture the seeds of inner calm. What will you let go of today? Let's find out. Unburdening the soul, releasing the weight of possessions. Let's begin this journey by looking at one of the most visible yet overlooked sources of heaviness in our lives: possessions. Have you ever walked into a cluttered room and felt an invisible weight settle on your shoulders? It's as if the objects themselves carry a silent demand for your attention, your care, your time. A Zen monk once held up a simple wooden bowl and said, "This is all I own, and yet, it is enough." These words invite us to consider a profound truth. The more we own, the more our possessions begin to own us. Think about it. How much of your time is spent cleaning, organizing, or worrying about things you don't truly need? Buddhism teaches us that all things are impermanent. The possessions we cling to will eventually break, decay, or be lost. But here's the question: do they define who we are? Do they shield us from fear or uncertainty, as we often believe? Let me share a story to bring this to life. A wealthy merchant once came to a Zen master, distraught after losing his entire fortune. "I have nothing left," he cried. The master smiled gently and pointed to the rising sun. "Who owns this light?" he asked. "Yet, it is yours to enjoy every single day." The message is clear. True wealth is not found in what we hoard, but in what we experience. Letting go of unnecessary possessions is not about deprivation. It's about liberation. Start small. Look around you and ask, does this item bring me joy or peace? If not, perhaps it's time to release it, donate it, share it, or simply let it go. When we let go of material clutter, we create space, not just in our homes, but in our minds. And in that space, simplicity blooms. It's like clearing a foggy window. Suddenly, you can see the beauty of life with fresh eyes. So, what will you release today? Perhaps it's an outfit you haven't worn in years, or an old gadget gathering dust. Whatever it is, remember this: by letting go of the unnecessary, you're making room for what truly matters: clarity, peace, and the joy of simply being. Now, take a deep breath. Imagine the freedom of walking into a space filled only with the things that bring you joy and purpose. That's the gift of letting go, and it's one we all deserve to experience. Toxic relationships and the power of distance. Now, let's turn our attention to a burden that weighs on the heart more than the home: toxic relationships. Relationships, when nurtured with care and respect, can be a sanctuary, a source of solace and growth. But not all connections uplift us. Some, like sharp thorns, wound us time and again, draining our energy and clouding our inner peace. The Buddha once said, "It is better to walk alone than with a fool." This teaching reminds us that it's not the quantity of relationships that matters, but their quality. Think about the people in your life. Are there connections that feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders? Do some interactions leave you feeling depleted instead of enriched? Here's a simple yet profound analogy. Imagine holding a cup of tea. If the cup begins to overflow, it becomes impossible to enjoy the tea within. A Zen master once used this metaphor to teach a disciple the importance of letting go. He poured tea into an already full cup, letting it spill over. "When you are too full," he said, "you must pour some out, or you will drown in your own cup." In life, we sometimes hold on to relationships that no longer serve us out of fear, guilt, or obligation. But distancing ourselves from toxic connections is not an act of cruelty. It's an act of compassion, both for ourselves and the other person. By stepping away, we create space for healing, growth, and healthier relationships to enter our lives. This doesn't mean every difficult relationship should be abandoned. Some require communication, effort, and understanding to repair. But for those connections that repeatedly harm us or hinder our growth, it's okay to walk away quietly, with no malice in your heart. Here's a gentle practice to begin this process. Reflect on the relationships in your life. Which ones bring light into your days? Which ones cast shadows? For those that feel like a burden, start by creating small boundaries. Maybe it's limiting your time with someone who drains your energy or choosing not to engage in negative conversations. These small acts of self-preservation can lead to a profound sense of freedom. As you navigate this, remember the wisdom of the Zen monk who once said, "When we hold a grudge, it's like carrying a sack of stones on our back. The moment we put it down, we wonder why we waited so long." Take a moment to breathe and reflect. Imagine a life where your relationships feel like a refreshing breeze, not a storm. That life is possible when we courageously let go of what no longer serves us and embrace the connections that nurture our soul. The illusion of perfection. Embracing imperfections with grace. Let's shift our focus to one of the most subtle yet powerful burdens we carry, the illusion of perfection. How often do we chase this unattainable goal, striving to meet impossibly high standards, only to feel like we're falling short? The truth is, perfection is a mirage, a construct of the mind that keeps us endlessly running towards something that doesn't exist. In a quiet mountain village, a young woman once climbed to seek wisdom from a Zen master. She confessed, "Master, I strive to be perfect, yet I fail every time. What should I do?" The master handed her a clay pot with a visible crack and said, "Fill this pot with water until it overflows." Confused but obedient, she did as instructed. Water seeped through the crack and onto the ground. She exclaimed, "This pot is flawed." The master smiled and said, "And so are you. Yet, that crack allows water to nourish the earth." This story carries a profound lesson. Our flaws are not barriers to growth. They are pathways to authenticity and connection. Embracing imperfections allows us to see ourselves and others with compassion. We often forget that perfection is not what makes us lovable. It's our humanity, our vulnerability, and our willingness to grow. Consider how perfectionism shows up in your life. Do you avoid starting a project because you fear it won't be flawless? Do you criticize yourself harshly for mistakes that are, in truth, part of learning? These tendencies weigh us down, creating unnecessary stress and robbing us of the joy found in simply being. Instead of striving for perfection, shift your focus to presence. As the Zen saying goes, perfection is not the path. Presence is. When you allow yourself to be fully present in each moment, you'll discover the beauty in imperfection. A crooked smile, a heartfelt attempt, or a humble apology. These are the moments that connect us to the world and to one another. Here's a practice to let go of the illusion of perfection. The next time you catch yourself being overly critical, pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself, "I am enough as I am." Set realistic, kind goals for yourself, goals that honor your humanity rather than dismiss it. Life isn't meant to be polished, it's meant to be lived. When we release the need to appear perfect, we give ourselves permission to grow, to fail, and to thrive. We step into a space of grace where imperfection is not a flaw but a celebration of what makes us real. So, take a moment to breathe and reflect. Imagine the freedom of accepting yourself, just as you are. That freedom is waiting for you, not in the pursuit of perfection, but in the gentle embrace of your imperfections. The noise of distractions. Finding peace in the present moment. Let's now explore another silent thief of our inner peace: distractions. In today's world, where notifications buzz and screens glow at every turn, finding stillness can feel like a distant dream. But here's the question: how much of our time is lost chasing distractions that add little value to our lives? In a Zen monastery, there is a simple rule: walk and eat in silence. When a visitor once asked why, the abbot replied, "When you eat in silence, you taste the universe in a single grain of rice. When you walk in silence, you hear the whispers of the earth." This wisdom invites us to consider how distractions pull us away from the richness of the present moment. Whether it's scrolling through endless social media feeds, binge-watching entertainment, or filling every quiet moment with noise, these habits disconnect us from ourselves and the world around us. Imagine your mind as a still lake. Each distraction is like a pebble thrown into the water, creating ripples that disturb the clarity. The more distractions we entertain, the harder it becomes to see clearly or feel centered. But when we reduce the noise, the waters of our minds settle, allowing us to experience life with greater depth and presence. Here's a gentle story to illustrate this. A monk once asked his master, "How do I find peace in a world so full of noise?" The master handed him a bowl of water and instructed him to stir it vigorously. "What do you see?" the master asked. "Only ripples," the monk replied. The master then told him to set the bowl down and wait. As the water stilled, the monk saw his reflection clearly. "Peace comes when the mind is still," the master said. To bring this practice into your life, consider a digital detox. Set aside specific times each day to turn off your devices and embrace silence. Whether it's savoring your morning tea without distractions, taking a mindful walk, or simply sitting in stillness, these moments of quiet can transform your day. Another practice is to focus on single tasking. When eating, just eat. When listening to a loved one, give them your full attention. These small acts of mindfulness reconnect us to the beauty and depth of the present moment. Take a deep breath now and imagine a day free from the constant buzz of distractions. A day where you feel fully alive in every experience. No matter how simple, that day is within your reach when you choose to let go of the noise and return to the present. The illusion of control, trusting the flow of life. Let's now address a burden many of us carry without even realizing it: the illusion of control. How often do we try to micromanage our lives, clinging to plans and outcomes, only to feel frustration when things don't go as expected? The truth is, life is beautifully unpredictable, and trying to control it often leads to unnecessary suffering. There's an old Zen story that illustrates this perfectly. A farmer's horse ran away, and his neighbors lamented his bad luck. "Maybe," the farmer replied. Days later, the horse returned with a group of wild companions. The neighbors congratulated him, calling it great fortune. "Maybe," he said again. Soon after, the farmer's son broke his leg trying to tame one of the wild horses. The neighbors grieved for him, but again, the farmer simply said, "Maybe." Weeks later, soldiers came to conscript young men for war, but the son was spared because of his injury. This story reminds us that we rarely see the full picture in the moment. What appears to be misfortune might later reveal itself as a blessing, and vice versa. Life flows like a river, ever-changing, and resisting its current only exhausts us. Instead, when we trust the flow of life, we open ourselves to its wisdom and grace. Buddhism teaches that attachment to outcomes is a source of suffering. When we try to control every aspect of our lives, we create rigid expectations, and any deviation from those expectations feels like failure. But what if, Instead of controlling, we chose to adapt? What if we approached life with curiosity rather than fear? Here's a practice to help release the illusion of control. The next time life throws you an unexpected challenge, pause and take a deep breath. Instead of reacting with frustration or panic, ask yourself, what can this moment teach me? By shifting your perspective, you'll find strength and clarity in the face of uncertainty. Another way to cultivate trust in life's flow is through gratitude. Reflect on the times when unexpected events led to surprising blessings. Perhaps a detour brought you to a beautiful place, or a missed opportunity led you to something even greater. These moments remind us that life often knows what we need better than we do. Take a deep breath now and imagine letting go of the need to control everything. Picture yourself floating on a gentle river, trusting its current to guide you. That trust is not weakness, it's wisdom, the kind that frees you to live with peace and grace. The weight of regret, letting go of the past. Let's now confront one of the heaviest burdens we carry, regret. Whether it's a mistake we made, a path not taken, or words left unspoken, regret ties us to the past, holding us in a loop of what-ifs and if-onlys. But here's the truth. No amount of dwelling can rewrite what has already happened. What we can do is release its grip on our hearts. In a quiet monastery, a novice monk sat weeping over his past mistakes. The master, noticing his distress, drew a circle in the sand and asked, "What is this?" The novice replied, "A circle." The master then erased it with a single stroke and said, "The past is like this circle. It exists only in your memory. Erase it, and it holds no power over you." This simple act reveals a profound truth. Regret is not a reflection of the present. It is a shadow of the past. Holding on to it is like carrying a heavy stone in your heart. It serves no purpose, yet it drains your energy and dims your light. Forgiveness is the key to releasing regret, and it starts with yourself. Often, we are our harshest critics, replaying our mistakes like a broken record. But what if we saw those mistakes not as failures, but as lessons? Every stumble on our path has shaped who we are today, offering wisdom we might not have gained otherwise. Here's a practice to begin releasing regret. Write down one thing from your past that weighs heavily on you. Reflect on what you learned from that experience. Then, imagine holding that memory in your hands, thanking it for its lessons, and gently letting it go, like releasing a balloon into the sky. Forgiving others is equally important. Carrying resentment for someone else's actions only chains us to the past. As the Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning. It means freeing yourself from the grip of pain. Imagine your life without the weight of regret. Picture waking up each day with a heart unburdened by the past, ready to embrace the present moment fully. That freedom is within your reach. It begins with a choice to forgive, to learn, and to let go. Take a deep breath now. Feel the weight of regret begin to lift, like a cloud breaking apart to reveal the sun. You are not your past. You are the person who stands here today, ready to step forward with grace and wisdom. The poison of resentment, practicing compassion and release. Now, let's turn to another heavy burden, resentment. Like a fire that smolders in the heart, resentment eats away at our peace, leaving only ashes of bitterness behind. We hold on to grudges, replaying moments of hurt, as if clinging to that pain will somehow make us stronger. But in truth, it only weakens us. A Zen monk once carried a heavy sack of stones. When asked why, he replied, "Each stone is a grudge I hold." Another monk, watching him struggle, laughed and said, "Why not put them down?" The first monk hesitated, saying, "But they remind me of my pain." The second monk replied, "Do they make you feel lighter for carrying them?" This story captures the futility of resentment. It doesn't heal wounds, it deepens them. As the Buddha wisely taught, anger is like holding a burning coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Letting go of resentment is not about denying your pain. It's about choosing your peace over your anger. Forgiveness is the act of unclenching your fist, of releasing the stones you've carried for too long. It is not a gift to the person who hurt you. It's a gift to yourself. Here's a practice to begin this process. Close your eyes and visualize someone you hold resentment toward. Picture them as a child, vulnerable and imperfect, just as you were. Imagine the pain they may have carried that led them to hurt you. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it invites you to see them with compassion, not judgment. Then, say quietly to yourself, I release this pain. I choose peace over anger. I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. You may need to repeat this practice many times. Forgiveness is rarely instant. It's a gradual softening of the heart. But each time you choose compassion over resentment, you take a step closer to freedom. Imagine your life without the weight of grudges. Picture a heart that feels light, unburdened by the wounds of the past. That peace is possible, and it begins with the courage to let go. Take a deep breath now and feel the possibility of release. Resentment doesn't have to define you. Compassion can transform your pain into wisdom, and forgiveness can set you free. The fear of change. Embracing transformation as growth. Let us now explore a burden that keeps many of us rooted in fear. The fear of change. Life is constantly moving, evolving, and transforming. Yet, we often resist this natural flow, clinging to what feels familiar, even when it no longer serves us. Why do we fear change so deeply? Perhaps it's the uncertainty it brings, the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. A Zen parable tells the story of a river that feared merging with the ocean. The river cried, I will lose myself in you. The ocean replied, without me, you cannot know your true vastness. This story reminds us that while change might feel like loss, it often leads to growth and self-discovery. Buddhism teaches that impermanence, or anicca, is the nature of all things. The seasons change, the leaves fall, and even the mightiest mountains erode with time. Resisting this truth only creates suffering. When we embrace change, we align ourselves with life's natural rhythm, allowing it to shape us into something greater. Think about a time in your life when a change, though challenging, led to unexpected growth or opportunity. Perhaps it was leaving a job, moving to a new place, or letting go of a relationship. In hindsight, those moments often reveal themselves as turning points, gifts wrapped in the disguise of discomfort. Here's a practice to ease the fear of change. The next time you feel resistance, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to lose? And what might I gain by letting go? Write down your thoughts and focus on the possibilities that lie ahead. This simple exercise can shift your perspective, transforming fear into curiosity. Another practice is to view change as a teacher. Each new chapter, no matter how uncertain, brings lessons that shape our character and expand our understanding of the world. Just as a tree must shed its leaves to grow anew, we, too, must release the old to make space for the new. Take a moment now to reflect. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the ocean, feeling the waves of change wash over you. Instead of resisting, you let the water carry you forward, trusting it will lead you to a place of growth and wisdom. Change is not something to fear. It is the essence of life itself. Embrace it, and you'll discover a world of possibility waiting beyond the horizon. The false self, discovering who you truly are. Now, let's delve into a burden that often hides in plain sight, the false self. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to define ourselves by external markers, titles, achievements, possessions, or the opinions of others. But who are we when all these layers are stripped away? What remains when we let go of the masks we wear? A man once approached a Zen master and asked, "Who am I?" The master smiled and replied, "Remove your titles, your possessions, and your beliefs. What remains is your true self." The man was puzzled but later realized the profound truth of this teaching. We are not defined by what we have or what others think of us, but by the still, unchanging essence within. This false self, built on roles, labels, and societal expectations, often disconnects us from our authentic being. It's like wearing a heavy coat on a warm day, unnecessary and burdensome. Yet, many of us cling to this coat, fearing what lies beneath. Buddhism teaches that attachment to the ego is a source of suffering. The ego constantly seeks validation, fearing rejection or insignificance. But the more we feed it, the more restless and unsatisfied we become. True peace comes not from building a grand image of ourselves, but from discovering the simplicity of our true nature. Here's a practice to reconnect with your authentic self. Find a quiet space and sit in stillness. Reflect on this question. If I let go of all the roles I play, parent, partner, employee, who am I? Don't rush to answer. Instead, sit with the question and let it guide you inward. Over time, you'll begin to sense a deeper truth, a self that exists beyond labels and expectations. Another practice is to observe moments when your ego seeks validation. For example, do you feel the need to prove your worth in conversations or online? The next time this happens, pause and remind yourself, I am enough as I am. This simple affirmation can help you release the need for external approval. Imagine the freedom of living without the weight of a false self. Picture yourself walking through life, unburdened by the need to impress or conform, simply being who you are at your core. That freedom is not only possible, it's your natural state. Take a deep breath now and feel the stillness within. Beneath the layers of titles and identities lies the real you, a being of wisdom, compassion, and peace. Let go of the false self, and you'll discover a profound connection to the world and yourself. The pursuit of external validation, finding contentment within. Now, let's examine a burden many of us unknowingly carry: the endless pursuit of external validation. From childhood, we're often taught to seek approval, to strive for recognition from teachers, peers, colleagues, or society at large. But this chase for applause, for the nods of others, often leaves us feeling empty and disconnected. Imagine this. A monk sat meditating under the stars in a quiet forest. A passerby paused and asked, "Why do you sit here alone? Shouldn't you seek admiration for your wisdom?" The monk smiled and replied, "The stars do not seek applause, yet they shine." This simple yet profound response reminds us of an essential truth. Our worth is not determined by others' opinions. Like the stars, we shine brightest when we simply exist as we are, unburdened by the need for validation. Buddhism teaches that seeking approval is like chasing shadows, fleeting and insubstantial. When we base our happiness on external validation, we hand over control of our peace to others. A single criticism can shatter us, while an absence of praise leaves us feeling invisible. True contentment, however, comes from within, from knowing and accepting our inherent value. Here's a practice to help you let go of the need for external validation. The next time you achieve something or make a decision, pause and ask yourself, does this bring me joy, regardless of what others think? Focus on how the experience feels to you, not on how it might be perceived by others. This simple shift can help you reconnect with your inner sense of fulfillment. Another powerful tool is gratitude. When you stop seeking approval, you begin to notice the abundance already present in your life. Take a moment each day to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for, not to share with others, but simply to nurture your own heart. Gratitude shifts the focus inward, grounding you in the richness of your own life. Imagine the freedom of living without the need for validation. Picture yourself standing tall, confident in your worth, no longer swayed by the opinions of others. That confidence is not arrogance. It's the quiet strength of self-acceptance. Take a deep breath now and repeat this affirmation: I am enough, just as I am. Feel the truth of these words sink into your being. You don't need applause to shine. The light you seek is already within you, steady, unwavering, and beautifully your own. Reflections and the path to freedom. Embracing simplicity and peace. As we near the end of this journey, let us reflect on the path we've walked together. We've uncovered burdens that weigh us down: possessions, toxic relationships, perfectionism, distractions, regret, resentment, fear, false identities, and the endless chase for validation. Each one represents a veil, obscuring the simplicity and peace that are our natural state. Zen philosophy reminds us that life itself is not a struggle. It becomes one through our attachments, fears, and misconceptions. When we let go of these burdens, we begin to rediscover the freedom and clarity that have always been within us. Imagine your mind as a clear lake. When cluttered with unnecessary desires, emotions, and expectations, the water becomes murky, and we lose sight of its depth. But when we release what no longer serves us, the sediment settles, and the lake reflects the sky above, a mirror of tranquility and light. Simplicity is at the heart of this transformation. It's not just about owning fewer things, it's about living with intention. When we simplify, we create space, not just in our surroundings, but in our minds and hearts. This space allows us to see the beauty of life in its purest form, like the laughter of a child or the warmth of sunlight on our skin. Compassion is another key to this journey. By forgiving ourselves and others, we unshackle our hearts from the chains of regret and resentment. Compassion is not a weakness, it's a strength that opens the door to joy and connection. As the Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like carrying a burning coal. It harms only the one who holds it. And finally, impermanence teaches us that change is not an enemy but a teacher. Like the seasons, life is ever evolving, shedding the old to make way for the new. When we embrace this truth, we begin to see change not as a loss, but as a gift of growth and renewal. Here's a final practice to carry with you. Each morning, take a moment to sit quietly and breathe. Reflect on this question: what can I let go of today? Whether it's a small frustration, a lingering fear, or a material item, release it with gratitude. Each act of letting go brings you closer to the simplicity and freedom of your true nature. Take a deep breath now and feel the stillness within. Imagine a life where you are no longer weighed down by the unnecessary, a life of clarity, compassion, and peace. That life is not far away. It's here, waiting for you, in the present moment. As we close this journey, remember the simplest truth of all: you already have everything you need to be free. The work is not in acquiring, but in letting go. May these teachings guide you toward the peace and joy that reside within, and may your light inspire others on their own paths. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If you found value in today's reflections, I invite you to continue exploring these lessons and to share them with those who may need them. Until next time, may you walk with ease, breathe with calm, and live with the boundless freedom of your true self.